So I'm sitting here trying to figure out the Tetris, and it's just not adding up for me. Anyway, we get this DMR thing going. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to stack these here. I'm going to move this file cabinet. So with the 101s, this one is the 101 with no serial, or excuse me, no letter, a very early serial number. One of the earliest ones that were offered in the United States on import. And then this is a later B, one of the last of the B. I mean, the B, well, one of the last, like before the E. So basically, they made the 101 like this for a long time. There was 3 or 4 versions of the 101 without a letter. And the B has all the improvements. So, and then after the B, you had a couple of different versions of the E. But anyway, so I have this radio here, the band scope, the speaker, and then, over here, I have the Tempo 1. And I still need to get into here and work on this. I just did a couple of other things, but I'm limited on space in here. I really like looking at these radios and occasionally using them. Usually, a lot of times, people will give me a hard time if I'm not exactly spot on frequency. You know how it is. So, sometimes it's just like, well, I want to use it, but, unless I get on the vintage sideband net or something like that, or certain people are on, the group. Anyway, I don't like stacking radios on top of radios. That's kind of like, for me, first of all, once you start stacking radios on top of them, it dents the top of them because they're like 30 or 40 pounds. And you have it concentrated on those little legs. And it screws up the paint. And, also then you can't really operate them because, you can't get to the bottom of the back of the bottom one. And, also, it's not good for heat or anything like that. And a lot of these radios have put out quite a bit of heat. So, I don't really want to do that. But if I'm not going to use them, or they're in my way, then I might need to stack them. But if I removed, all the accessories, since I don't really use the band scope and I don't really use the speaker, those could be removed. And the Tempo 1, I'm not going to use it. It's too difficult to use. It's too drifty. If I didn't have any working radios that worked at all, I could use it, and I would quickly replace it. I can tell you that much. So, like, let's just say I was like one of these crackhead dudes that sells all his stuff and then, posts an ad on Craigslist and says, hey, I really need some help. I'm a crackhead and I sold all my stuff to pay my bills, which is a lie. And, somebody please, help a poor, unfortunate ham out, and, then we end up with one of these radios, right? Well, then I would quickly replace it. And I know a guy, actual guy, the reason I say this is because I know a guy that's what he does. And he lives down in Arizona, further down in the state, near the prison down there, and he'll sell all his stuff. He'll do it all the time. And I don't know what the reason is that he sells all his stuff, or if he's just a liar. And then he gets some, radio like a Tempo 1 donated to him, and then he makes everybody feel sorry for him, and then he gets another type of radio, and then sometimes he gets, a really good radio for, next to nothing. He's also the guy that always sends messages to me every time I put something up for sale and tries to get it for nothing, and I've been really nice. And I've offered super deals, even, meet him halfway, and he just, he never does it, So, I see him at every ham fest, and, I've met him a couple of times, and he's a nice guy. I don't know what his problem is. Maybe he's got drug issues, but, anyway, if I was one of those guys, this radio would get used for a very, very short amount of time until I could replace it with something. It's really that much of a pain. There is no amount of work that I'm going to put into that thing that would make it worth using for me. So, it does work. It needs a tube. One of the tubes is soft, I think. I can't remember. So, but there's lots of tubes in that radio. It's all tube, really. There's only like a couple transistors. It's not like a 101. It's all tube. So actually, it does have a really nice kind of tube sounding receive. But anyway, it's just not worth using it. So basically, I literally could clear out this whole top row and say, these are radios I'm not going to use. And I would be left with what you see down here on the bottom row, a 746 and a 756. A 102 that I'm probably going to leave parked on one band to use, a 710, and then hiding behind the monitor is a 101 ZD Mark III and an FT1. And I'm not going to use those either, so really what I need to do is narrow down my operating area. So down here I have like stuff that I don't, need at eye level all the time. So, but basically, I was sitting here looking at this going, I could go, I've got more scrap lumber laying around and add the rest of the perimeter of this board across here and build a shelf up above this, which I think would be quite difficult. And if I had enough pieces, I could cobble together some kind of shelf that sits above these radios. Or the other option is I could just completely move this shelf to right here. And if that would give me enough room to come down in here and maybe add a shelf here. So just take this and go across. So really what needs to happen is I just need to get rid of stuff. I don't need to build more room. I mean, or put a museum somewhere else. So anyway, we got this stuff up here. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm not going to put radios up there. So I could, but I listen to music on that. So, anyway, it's kind of, still not what I want. So it's a work in progress. It's still a mess.